Now, Madison Square Garden has hosted some of boxing's most memorable fights. Wednesday was not one of them.
No, and the Garden has hosted many of the big moments in Knicks history as well. What happened Wednesday, not among those either. There's a weird energy around the Knicks right now, and that includes an altercation Wednesday involving Charles Oakley, who used to play for them. Oakley was ejected from Madison Square Garden and arrested after an altercation near Knicks owner James Dolan. It happened during a stoppage in play in the Clippers-Knicks game. Now, Oakley was shouting at Dolan from a seat a few rows behind him. Oakley bought his own ticket to the game. Security showed up at his seat, and after some words with them, Oakley wound up shoving one of the security guards. Now, the security eventually removed Oakley from the arena. He was handcuffed and later arrested by New York City police. He was charged with 3 counts of misdemeanor assault, 1 count of criminal trespass, which is also a misdemeanor. He was released, but he does have to appear before a judge later. Now, in a statement, the Knicks said Oakley acted in a highly inappropriate and completely abusive manner. The statement also said he was a great Knick and we hope he gets some help soon. Oakley played for the Knicks from 1988 to 1998. He was one of their more popular players, regarded as one of the league's toughest players. He's 53 now, and his relationship with the team has been strained because he's been critical of Dolan in the past. In a profile in the New York Times last year, he said he'd been trying to set up a sit-down with Dolan through other people, but he had not been able to meet with him. And then Wednesday night, Ian Begley covers the Knicks for ESPN and joins us now at SportsCenter. So, Ian, there's been some history there, but why did this play out the way that it did Wednesday night?
Bad blood between Charles Oakley and the Knicks that stems from the past several years when Charles feels that he's been slighted by the organization. He sees former Knicks be welcomed back by the organization again and again, and he sees that he is not welcomed back by ownership. And this year I think it's been particularly tough on Charles because the organization has had its 70th anniversary celebration all year, welcoming back former players, highlighting former players. Charles hasn't been highlighted. Now, the organization says that Charles has said some critical things about them in the past and disparaging things about them in the past that have rubbed them the wrong way, and that's what's led to this cold relationship, this bad blood. I've talked to Charles about that a couple times, and what he says is, hey, I just tell the truth about the Knicks. You know, they have been bad for the past 15 or so years, and I don't say anything a Knicks fan wouldn't say. So really, what's their issue? And I know that this was kind of eating at Charles for the past couple of years. So I think that's kind of what we saw tonight when things came to a head with what happened between Charles and the owner and Charles getting dragged out of the arena.
And as if Phil Jackson doesn't have enough on his plate, he became the peacemaker in this. What can you tell us about that?
Right. So as Charles was getting dragged out, I ran downstairs to see what was going on, and I saw Charles in the tunnel, and he was surrounded by at least a dozen MSG security people. He was in handcuffs, and he was agitated. He was swearing. He was yelling about owner James Dolan. And Phil Jackson comes from his seat in the arena, walks through the tunnel, and tries to calm Charles down, tries to get him to relax, asks him what's bothering him, and Charles really doesn't calm down at all. He's still very agitated, and really he was there for another 20 minutes, surrounded by security in handcuffs before he left the arena and ultimately went to the police station.
All right, so yet another storyline from New York. Ian Begley with the latest. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
So, you know, the New York Daily News is all over this. Here's the headline. Charles is charged. Remember that TV show?
Oh, yeah. Charles in charge. Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith also at the game Wednesday night. Here are his thoughts on what's wrong with the Knicks.
I'd love to tell you this is just the latest example of how pathetic the state of affairs are with the Knicks organization, but that's not applicable here. Charles Oakley did what he did. He's no longer a member of the Knicks organization. He was a fan sitting in the stands, and whatever happened, whatever the details entail, it certainly had nothing to do with the Knicks, who made it a point to say he didn't get the tickets from them. He didn't go to their site. He didn't call them. They didn't grant him tickets to the game because he's been on the record in the past being very, very clear about how he feels about Chairman James Dolan of the New York Knicks. Having said all of that, let's be clear. The New York Knicks didn't need this news. I mean, they're still under 500. It doesn't matter what the outcome of last night's game with the Clippers was. The bottom line is the New York Knicks are a below-average team. The superstar for this team, Carmelo Anthony, doesn't want to work for the president of basketball operations. The president of basketball operations evidently doesn't want Carmelo Anthony being the star of his team, and as a result, it's a marriage made in hell, on course to go absolutely nowhere but where the New York Knicks have been, in purgatory, outside of the playoffs, looking in, going absolutely nowhere whatsoever, being every bit as moribund and pathetic as they have been in recent memory, depressing New Yorkers, depressing fans, depressing themselves, and quite possibly depressing former players. I'm just guessing on that one, but it sounds like a good guess, doesn't it?
All right, here's something else unusual. A reporter from ESPN China, it's called Tencent in China.
I have it on my app.
Spoke with Spike Lee. No, you don't. And asked Spike Lee, Phil Jackson or Carmelo Anthony, who should go? Spike Lee said, I will pack Phil's bags for him. And then he asked, would you do a Kevin Love for Carmelo deal right now? And Spike Lee said, I think I still believe in Carmelo, but Phil Jackson is making it very difficult for him. Trade deadline February 23rd. Stay tuned.